Hi, I'm Darren and welcome to New Factory Classics. Today we're going to break down Garden State. The movie begins with Andrew sitting on an airplane that's fully packed and about to crash. Everyone else is freaking out, but he's rather calm, almost numb to the whole situation. I myself might welcome a plane crash if I was surrounded by a grandma and a baby that was crying the whole time also. Andrew wakes up from his nightmare to his phone ringing. He lives in a blank apartment with white walls and no decorations. Despite the fact that he never answers the phone, his father leaves a voicemail. It seemed that his mother drowned in the bathtub last night, though for some reason Andrew has no response at all. Cut to Andrew getting ready for work. His bathroom is full with a bunch of pill bottles. Lithium, Zoloft, hydrocodone, and Valium. He has a veritable pharmacy of drugs in his bathroom. If this dude were less lame, he'd actually be a pretty cool guy to hang out and party with. Off to work at an upscale Vietnamese restaurant. For some reason, he's showing up late. He always shows up late. Andrew can't even handle a basic waiting job. Andrew is obviously struggling so much that he better make sure that he puts on his makeup for his job. He needs to go up there looking like J.D. Vance. Andrew flies home to New Jersey to attend his mother's funeral. She had been in a wheelchair since an accident many years earlier. He's had an estranged relationship with his father, who was actually played by Ian Holm, and it didn't get any better after he moved to Valinor. After the funeral, Andrew walks over to Mark, one of his old friends from high school. Mark is also a gravedigger at the graveyard, so he's pretty successful. Well, not really. Not as successful as Andrew, who moved to LA to become an actor, but really he just works as a waiter, and he's not very good at that either. Andrew and his father have their first in-person conversation in over a decade. Andrew left to go to LA a long time ago, and they've just never reconnected. And the death of his mother doesn't seem to be bringing them any closer either. But forget rekindling his relationship with his father. Andrew grabs his grandfather's motorcycle and heads to go off to party with Mark. Yes, it's time for Andrew to get messed up, beyond the normal level of messed up on all the pharmaceuticals he's on every single day. On his way to the party, Andrew gets pulled over by his old high school friend who became a cop. He says being a cop is cool, but not as cool as a professional actor like Andrew is. Everyone else is super jealous of Andrew's super cool life. Andrew, or as his friends call him, Largeman, finally arrives at the party. He meets up with Mark and his old friend Jesse, who's a millionaire now. He created silent Velcro and sold it to the government and made a ton of cash, and he's using it to fund his drug abuse. They feed Andrew some X and then they all get wasted at the party. While everyone else is partying, Andrew just kind of melts into the couch and watches everyone else. To be honest, Andrew hasn't had very much human interaction in many years. This party is very overwhelming for him. During the spin the bottle game, Andrew gets to make out with a very much younger blonde chick, a strategy that actor and writer Zach Braff uses in his personal life too. Andrew wakes up at Mark's house and he has an awkward breakfast with Mark, his mother, and the guy that's banging his mother. He went to high school with Andrew and Mark, and now he works as a knight at medieval times. A knight and banging a 50-year-old woman? This guy's pretty cool. Jim Parsons would then go on to become the most annoying character to ever grace TV. Andrew heads over to the doctor appointment his dad set up for while he was in town. There he meets Sam, a pixie dream girl who has some sort of autism. She's super socially awkward and can't stop talking, and half the time everything she's saying is a lie. After confirming that he's not actually retarded and that was just a character that Andrew played on TV, she ends up flirting with him. She apologizes constantly for being so nosy about his personal activities, but frankly Andrew just likes the fact that he's having a conversation with a girl his own age. Also, who can turn down a girl who became queen at the age of 14? Andrew has the neurologist appointment that his father set up for him. He's had these shocking headaches for the last few months, and his father wanted him to get it looked into. It turns out that nothing's actually wrong with him, other than the fact that his father is his psychiatrist and has had him on drugs since he was 9 years old. And it turns out that Andrew doesn't think he should actually be on those drugs anymore, and he's wanting to try not taking them and seeing how life feels when you're not all drugged up. Also, he left them in LA, so it was going to be impossible for him to be on those drugs while he was in New Jersey anyways. On his way out, he runs into Sam, who's waiting for a ride home, and he offers to give her a ride. Though she's constantly lying, he is interested in this awkward girl that's interested in him. He asks her to come with him to go to Jesse's house, that millionaire drug addict. She doesn't know either of these guys, but she agrees if she's allowed to ask to leave by pulling her ear if things get awkward. Things get awkward immediately when they go to Jesse's house when he starts shooting fire arrows into the sky and they try and dodge it, so they end up leaving Jesse's house after only a few minutes. Andrew takes Sam home and he sees what her house is actually like, full of animals, so many animals that even one just died today. The house is full of her mom, and her adopted brother. Things are so crazy in that house that she apologizes constantly. But frankly, Andrew loves it. He loves the fact that there's a warm vibe of this house and everyone interacts with each other and loves each other. This is a vibe that he never actually had in his childhood, even before his mother's accident. Plus, he still kind of wants to bang Sam. Sam once again can't stop talking and can't stop lying. He finds it interesting, but he does ask her why she's constantly lying. She herself doesn't know. She's been lying her whole life. She just makes things up, and she's super apologetic for it. That said, Andrew's detoxing from being on drugs for 20 years, so it's good that she's holding the conversation, or there would just be a lot of staring and looking at the wall. So in a way, it is good that she talks more than anyone else in the tri-state area. While burying Jelly the hamster, Andrew reveals to Sam that his mother just died a few days ago. She starts crying, and he asks her why she's crying. She says it's just sad, and he lets her know that he hasn't cried about his mother dying. He hasn't cried in years. Andrew realizes that Sam experiences life so much more fully than he does. He has almost no emotions, and Sam feels everything, even those on behalf of other people. Andrew runs into his dad, who wants to talk. They haven't had a real conversation in almost 9 years. But Andrew pushes off that one-on-one conversation. He needs to go and party. Now that his drugs are wearing off, he needs to go do some drugs. Mark may be a grave digger, but he admits to being a grave robber while they're all hanging out. Now, I might not be ancient Egyptian, but I'm pretty sure grave robbing is pretty much frowned upon by every single civilization for the last 3,000 years. Andrew goes to have dinner with Sam and her family, and they show him her ice skating video from when she was younger. Sam apparently was such an incredible ice skater, she almost went pro. Unfortunately, she ended up developing epilepsy and had to quit the sport. Now, the epilepsy explains why she's constantly carrying a rubber helmet, but it doesn't explain her awkwardness. She would have been awkward either way, she just now falls on the ground and shakes sometimes too. Andrew and Sam go to the bar and talk about how sad life is. Her life being ruined by epilepsy and his life being numbed by the fact that he's been on drugs since he was 9 years old. But they can't let that get them down. It's time to go to a pool party at a millionaire's mansion. I'm not sure if a pool is a great place for an epileptic, but either way, keep this guy away from her. Hanging out with Jesse, Mark, and Sam, Andrew finally reveals why his mother was disabled. It turns out when he was 9 years old, he got frustrated with his mother and pushed her. Unfortunately, she tripped over the dishwasher and hit her neck on the kitchen counter. She ended up becoming paralyzed. True story, I think about this every time I open my dishwasher. Every single time for the last 20 years. That's like over 3,000 times. I think about the fact that a dishwasher can make you paralyzed. Every single time. Anyways, his father took the whole incident that Andrew was too violent and needed to be drugged up. So there he was, and has been, drugged up since he was 9 years old. Sam and Andrew are finally alone, and he opens up to her about how much he likes her. So much of his life was tragedy and prescription drugs. He's finally starting to feel something, and one of the first feelings is how much he likes her. She giggles and dances for him by the fire. It's the last full day that Andrew is in town. After that, he gets to go back to LA and being a failed actor. Mark invites Andrew to go to a mystery event where they'll find his going away present. They end up picking up Sam as it's her last day to see Andrew as well. Stop number 1 is for them to return some items that Andrew didn't buy so he can get some quick cash. Between stealing things and returning them for money and stealing gold from the dead, Mark is a real stand-up guy. The next stop is trading laughing gas to a hotel bellman. This guy runs an underground peep show for people to look into hotel rooms and see them having sex. He ends up trading them a mystery address for the huffing gas that Mark gives him. The address is for some random quarry out in Newark. This random scavenger hunt is an awesome way to spend your last day in the town with the girl that you love. And also, he hasn't even talked to his dad yet. But sure, let's go to the quarry. That sounds like a good use of our time. They meet the family that's living in the quarry whose job is to guard it. Mark trades some money to get the package. Whatever the package is, they've wasted their whole day to get it. So it better be worth it as it's his last day in the Garden State. Don't most funeral trips that you go to end up in a quarry though? The sky opens up and it really starts pouring rain, so they all put on trash bags for their trip home. Andrew climbs up to a crane overlooking the quarry and ends up screaming into the infinite abyss. Andrew finally feels fully alive for the first time in his life since he was 9 years old. He ends up grabbing Sam and kisses her for the first time, though nobody kisses Mark. Andrew says goodbye to Mark, and he's given the mystery gift. It's his mom's necklace. Though Mark may have stolen it from her body, he ended up going through this entire thing so he could get it back for his friend. Mark may be a grave robber, but he's a grave robber with a heart of gold. Andrew and Sam head back to his father's house. They share feelings of love and pain with each other. She is devastated with the fact that he's leaving town in the morning. He even cries for the first time in over 2 decades when talking about his mom. They sleep together, and Andrew finally feels safe for the first time in his whole life. Andrew wakes up in the middle of the night and wakes up his dad in bed. It's time to confront him for what he's done to Andrew's life. He says that the accident was just that, an accident. He never meant to hurt his mom, but what his dad did to him was worse. He drugged him up and didn't let him feel happiness or sadness or anger. He didn't let him feel anything. Andrew's been robbed of a full life. Andrew wants a relationship with his father, but a real relationship where he can be happy, he can be sad, he can be angry, but he gets to experience life. His dad doesn't get to dictate how he gets to experience life. The final morning, Sam takes Andrew to the airport and is weeping the whole time. She finally found someone that she connects with and is falling in love with, and he's leaving town. He tells her, though, that this is not the end of their story. He needs to go to LA and he needs to experience life for the first time, figure his crap out, and then he will come back to live with Sam. Unfortunately, she just thinks that he'll never come back. She won't ever see him again. Once he gets on that plane, he's gone. She weeps and kisses him goodbye. This may be the last time she ever sees Andrew in her life. Andrew takes the escalator and leaves her sight, and then gets on his plane. While he's sitting on the packed plane, he thinks about his trip to New Jersey. He thinks about his dad. He thinks about his friends Mark and Jesse, and most of all, he thinks of Sam. It's suddenly clear to him. He doesn't want to go back to LA. He hated his life in LA. He wants to stay in New Jersey. He wants to be with Sam. He gets off the plane and runs to find Sam and finds her crying in a phone booth. He tells her that other plans sucked. He has no idea how things are going to go or what's going to happen to them, but he knows he wants to stay in New Jersey with her. He knows that they will figure out life together, and most of all, that he loves her. And now I have seen it, so you don't have to. Please like, subscribe, and share. Thank you. Hey, thanks for watching my video. Please like, subscribe, and share. And while you're at it, leave a comment on my channel. I so desperately crave the acceptance of strangers online.